So today I have a man who is not only a member of Built to Last, but someone I class as a very dear friend, one of my best friends, in fact, since I moved to London, and that is Raheel Malik. When did we first meet?
I think it's 2016, 2017.
That just shows how fast time goes, because it certainly doesn't feel like that.
Definitely doesn't. I actually met you through Zen, who you were training at the time.
He
was a cousin of mine.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and he goes, look, we've been training for so many years. Yeah. We have no idea whether we're doing it right or wrong. Because when I started at the gym, I was 18. There was no YouTube. There was no training manuals. You just went to the gym and looked at what the big guys in the gym were doing and you just copied them. So
which for you was chest and biceps.
Chest and biceps. Twice a day sometimes.
It was chest and biceps, because you're always an absolute fucking animal when it comes to chest and biceps. The legs were non-existent.
I think we're slowly getting there, slowly, with your help.
You've burst a few pairs of trousers, I believe, since growing the glutes, right?
Yeah.
And you also wanted the abs, which we'll talk about in a second. But for the listeners, the reason I wanted to bring Raheel on, I've been blessed to coach an awful lot of high performers, genuine high performers, not just in business, but people who genuinely want to look after themselves, genuinely fulfill their potential. And I think a lot of people get branded high performers without warrant or without evidence, really, that they've done it over a period of back-to-back years. And for me, I'm obsessed with not just high performance, but being a healthy high performer. And Raheel is certainly under that bracket and has been for a number of years. And of course, we'll talk about his journey in Built to Last and how I'd like to think we've raised that bar. But Raheel is also the founder or co-founder of Aspire Dental Academy, which is the best in the country at what it does. And he'll break that down far more eloquently than me. But you're a man who seems to get a lot done, has achieved enormous amounts of success, wealth, influence. You and Richard Porter, obviously your co-founder, who's one of our clients too. I haven't coached many people who've got such an enormous amount of respect in their relative industry, but also both at the top of your game, physically, mentally, emotionally. You've got another brand that you've recently launched, of course, which is Telos, which is all around personal development. But if you are looking for inspiration, tactics, tips, and above all else, a mindset of what it takes to be the best in your professional field, make a lot of money, while still having a strong foothold on your health, your personal standards, your personal routine, then you're certainly in for a treat today, because Raheel, you are without question, in the top bracket of people that we work with. So it's an honour to finally make this happen, mate.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invite. I look forward to this.
No, 100%. So look, let's straight shoot into it, Raheel. I want to talk about business today, obviously health and personal routines, all that type of stuff. And there'll be a lot of people listening to this, maybe even dentists who are either working with you or I have a lot of dentists follow me who will listen to this and are looking at you going, okay, look at all this success, look at what you've built. Can you give a little bit of context on what Aspire Dental Academy is now, like your professional status now, but then what was life like before? Because I know it certainly didn't start out this way.
No, it definitely didn't. So I was born in Manchester, in a place called Rochdale, which doesn't have the best reputation.
Just a quick one. How did you end up supporting Liverpool?
We could get into that later if you like. We could get into that later. You got an uncle and a few cousins to blame for that. Okay. And a brother who's diehard Liverpool, which I'm sure we'll get onto. I was born in a place called Rochdale, and I was 12 years old when my dad decided to move. And at that point, it was a big move for him because he left all his family behind. He moved because of his work, and we were kids. We didn't really know much about the move. Only later we realised that it's probably the best decision he ever made for us, because being in Rochdale, I don't think I ever would have achieved the success that I've achieved being in London. We didn't go to the best of schools. We've had this conversation several times. Our schooling was absolutely terrible compared to some of the schooling.
Add some context to that, because again, like a lot of people see, if you study Raheel afterwards, you'll see what he's done is ridiculous.
I'll give you an example. So for my GCSEs, we didn't have a science teacher. Just the school didn't provide one. We had one, something went wrong. Supply teachers never lasted because we would just terrorise them. But I knew within 2 years I needed to get my science GCSE. So I just went to W at Smith's. I found myself a CD-ROM which says GCSE science. So I taught myself science for 2 years. That is the extent of the schooling that we had. It was terrible.
But not every kid does that though. They
I
don't
know,
go to WH Smith's and get a CD or whatever you call it.
Yeah, but it was a CD-ROM back then, and most people won't even know what CD-ROM is anymore.
Yeah.
But I had no choice. If I needed to get my GCSE, I had to do it. And I absolutely aced my science GCSE. I was never taught it. And Richard and I, we always get asked, people said to us, you guys are great teachers. Why are you so good and how are you so good at what you do? I just think I had so many shit teachers all my life that I figured out how I learn and how other people will be able to learn from that.
So you were in Rochdale, working class background at best.
Yeah.
Then did you move to London straight away? Like what was
So I was 12 years old when
Yeah.
we moved, and it was a big move. We left everything and everybody behind.
Yeah.
And it took a bit of time to adjust. I met people from different backgrounds, people from different cultures, and I was never the brightest in school. I was never anybody who thought, I'm going to do amazing things in school. But then one day, I still remember the exact thing that happened. It was my maths tutor. I think I was in year 10, a guy called Mr. Patel. He probably doesn't even know this. And he stood me up in front of everybody and says, that's Raheel Malik. He's going to get a U in maths GCSE. And I thought to myself, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then I sat down and thought, right, what do I need to do in order to ensure that I don't get a U in maths? Because we weren't really getting taught anything in school. We would just go there, we play football. That's what we looked forward to. But then I realized that he was right. If I don't sort this out, I will probably get a U in maths. So I sat down, came home, spoke to my dad. I said, this is the situation I'm in. I need to figure out how I can get a better result in maths. So then he was like, okay, let's go through this. And then I figured out I need to get books. I need to go through all of this. I started teaching it myself. I got a little bit of help with a little bit of private tutoring on the side as well. And I absolutely nailed that maths GCSE. I got an A star in maths. And that was only on the back of somebody standing me up and saying to me, you're going to fail. And that's what I learned about myself. When people challenge me like that, I'm at my best.
Because a lot of, I mean, what would you have been then, 15?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but a lot of people can fold in that situation.
I've had several situations like that in my life. And I'll give you another example. When I was an SHO in the hospital, I was working with a consultant for 1 year. And for 1 year, he treated me like shit. He knew how to say my name, but on purpose, he wouldn't say it properly. That's to the extent. But that sort of stuff never gets me down. I never sit there and cry about it. That to me is a challenge. I got to prove this person wrong. I know I can do this. And with everything, as long as you're in the right environment, and for me, it wasn't the right environment. So whether you're in the right or wrong environment, I think it comes down to your own mindset.
But was that like inborn, or were there certain things that might have happened growing up that shaped that mindset? Because I think everybody has a pivotal moment where they decide to be a certain person, but there's many people who would have got brought up as an example at the age of 15 and gone, you're only going to get a U, and they retreat and go backwards and fold. You didn't. How much of that is inborn? How much was that created by certain moments?
Do you know, it's difficult to tell, but because of the schooling that we had, and don't get me wrong, when we were going through the school system, we had no idea that this was shit. This is all we knew.
Of course.
It's only when you meet people from different backgrounds when you're older and you interact with other people and hear what their schooling was like or their upbringing was like, you're like, oh shit, ours was pretty poor compared to what these guys have had. I think we had to be tough. We had no choice when we were in school. If you weren't tough in school, you'd get walked over. You'd be in fights every weekend, every day. That's just how we grew up. It was tough. And for me, I was lucky I had an older brother who looked out for me. And he was my biggest role model growing up. He was strong. He was tough. The girls absolutely loved him. He was a stud. People respected and feared him all at once. And he was the reason I went into the gym, because he was in the gym and he was looking great. So I think it was not so much the upbringing, it was the environment we found ourselves in. We had no choice but to be tough, because if you weren't tough in those environments, you wouldn't last. And that then obviously manifested throughout all my education and everything I've done since. And Richard and I talk about this all the time. We say, in order for us to go down, somebody would literally have to get a gun and put it to our head and say, right, it's game over. But we just don't stop.
So it's just resilience. So
it's resilience.
Just fast forward, because we're going to come back to now, like, just to give some context to the listeners who don't know, what is Aspire Dental Academy? What right now? Talk about, you know, how many type of people you've coached, trained, helped. What is Aspire Dental Academy for those who don't know?
So do you know, when you qualify as a dentist, you qualify as a good dental student, not as a good dentist. I was fortunate enough, again, probably the same mindset, that when I was in dental school, I was on it. I wanted to make sure I was the best. I wanted to make sure I understood dentistry because I knew the second I would qualify, I'd be let loose on patients and I didn't want them to have a disservice from me. So I qualified knowing dentistry, I thought, really, really well. Very quickly, I realized that actually there's a lot more to learn. And this is how I ended up meeting Richard. We were on a course and Richard was teaching this particular course. And he was absolutely fantastic. I've never heard anybody lecture. You've obviously heard him lecture since.
He's unbelievable. Yeah.
I've never heard anybody lecture or articulate points over the way Richard does. And I knew there was a gap in the market. I knew there was a gap where newly qualified dentists and also very experienced dentists were missing out on this breadth of knowledge of dentistry that was out there but wasn't being taught properly. The hands-on skills weren't being taught properly. You only really learnt those in dental school. When you qualify, there was no one really there teaching you how to do dentistry the way it should be done. And I'm the kind of person, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it properly. Now, there's several ways of doing dentistry. Like you'll meet 10 different people, they'll all do it to a different way of doing it. But there's a standard, and we like to do dentistry to a very, very high standard, and that's what we wanted to teach. So when we set up this business nearly 14 years ago, we had no idea about business. None of us had ever had any formal business training. We just said, ultimately, we want to train these dentists to be able to do high quality dentistry so that their patients benefit from it. So the outcome is for the patients to get better dentistry. We were using the dentist as a vehicle to be able to deliver that. So we started off with just 13 people in a class many, many, many years ago. We didn't have any money to invest. And obviously, I didn't know nothing about Richard. We went into business with each other, knowing nothing about each other. I just knew he was Richard Porter, a consultant working in a hospital. And he just knew me as Raheel Malik, a dentist who qualified about 12 months ago, or just over 12 months ago. But we decided we were going to see how this works out. And we went, set up a business. I remember the first day I was walking out and my mum's like, "Why are you in a suit? Where are you going?" And she was shouting from the top of the stairs because I left really early that day. I go, "I've set up a business. I just want to see if people turn up." She's like, "What do you mean you set up a business?" I was like, "I'll tell you when I get home." Because I wasn't sure people were actually going to turn up, but people did. And the business works because we're honest. We don't have egos. And honestly, we're there to help these dentists provide better outcomes for their patients. And people always ask us, what's the secret formula? There is no secret formula. Just don't be a dick.
What do you teach that other competitors or people in the industry don't teach?
I guess most of them are probably teaching the same thing. There's just different styles of teaching.
Okay.
And I think our style of teaching has really resonated with people over the years. And that's testament to how long we've been going for, really, now, and how many courses we've now got. Started off with one course. We have about 8 different courses that we run now.
But it seems from the outset as well, Raheel, that it's not just the dentistry work that you do. It's so much more than that. Because if I go into a dentistry and I need something doing my teeth, and obviously I cheated my way to a set of veneers. Ultimately, it's an experience. And when you're making a decision on which dentist I'm going to choose to invest into trust, especially when it's something so delicate with your teeth, which is a large reflection on your confidence that you have or don't have, how someone shows up, to be really brutal, how they look, how they talk, how they carry themselves. I know you guys do a lot of work in that area too. Like, can you just elaborate on that? Because I'd never seen, from my experience, the dentist I know.
No, so look, when you come to the dentist, when we perform technical dentistry in your mouth, you don't really know what we're doing. You don't know whether the definitions on the margins are exactly how they should be, whether the anatomy we put inside your fillings is accurate or not. You don't have a clue about any of those things. The only thing you get to do is feel the experience that we give you. When you walk in, the way we greet you, the way we make you feel comfortable, the way we communicate treatment over to you so that you fully, completely understand it, the way we build trust and rapport with you. Because if you're going to a dentist, the main thing you need is trust in the person operating
100%.
on you. Whether it's a dentist, whether it's a doctor, that's what you're hoping for. But there's a way that you talk and act, your verbals, your non-verbals, that give that off. And we always say that there's always 2 conversations going on in every room. The first conversation is a verbal conversation. And you can lie if you really wanted to. But the second conversation, which is the most important conversation, is a non-verbal conversation.
What do you mean?
Your hands, your eyes, your non-verbals, they don't lie. So you can be lying with your mouth, but your hands and the way you look and the way you talk and the way you move, all of that, the subconscious is picking that up. So if you came to see me and I was trying to convince you to have some treatment done, and I didn't have any confidence in doing that treatment, let's use veneers, for example. Imagine I've never done a set of veneers before.
Yeah.
And you come into me, come into the surgery, say, I want some veneers, and I really want to do your veneers. But I'm a bit hesitant. Can I do it? Can I not? I've never done it before. You're going to be my guinea pig. I can say to you, I've done it thousands of times, but my non-verbals will give away that lie.
Yeah, you can see it.
The difficulty for the person lying is, though, the non-verbals are picked up by your subconscious, which then tells you internally, you get the gut feeling, you get that uncomfortable feeling inside saying, actually, I don't know if I trust this person. So what we try to do with a lot of our delegates is we make them clinically confident and competent, but we also make them believe that they can do the dentistry. We want them to have not just the confidence of doing it, but the belief that they can actually do it, because then it comes out in the non-verbals as well. So when they communicate with the patient does believe that they can do it. They can then build trust and rapport with that particular patient. So we don't just teach technical dentistry, we teach all those other aspects of dentistry that are just as important. And I've met many dentists myself who can't do dentistry. You would never let them anywhere near your mouth, but the way they speak, the way they talk, you just fall in love with them, you trust them.
But if you've got both,
that's the sweet spot.
if you've got the skills and you can talk and you can build rapport, then...
Which is what we try to get all of our dentists to. And the difficulty we have, like, for example, myself, if I met an expert in a field and I wanted to be like that person, whatever advice they would give me, I would jump on it. If they said, you need to buy this, you need to do this, you need to do that, I would jump on it and I would do it. The difficulty we find, there's only a certain type of people who do that. So we get lots of delegates coming on our course who spend thousands of pounds training with us, but they still don't implement what we teach them. But then every now and then you get some who do, and you just see the way their career just unfolds.
And do you notice a distinct difference in all the years you've been doing it, the people that have gone on to make a lot of money?
I can tell you within 5 seconds of meeting the person who's going to implement and who's
Why?
not. Because of the way they speak, because of the way they act, because of the questions they ask. I can tell you straight away.
Which comes down to, as well, as a world-class dentist or an aspirational world-class dentist, and certainly becoming not just a great dentist but a great businessman, the importance of being confident within, being content with how you feel inside and how you show up physically, because if there's flaws internally, it's going to present themselves externally, surely.
Well, one of the things that we always say is how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's so true. So if we get people turning up late, unless there's been an actual reason for them to be late, you know what they're going to be like. We can tell from the emails that come through and the tone that is used in emails. And they know the emails aren't coming to us; they're coming to our admin staff. But if you're going to treat our admin staff in a certain way, we just know what you're really like as a person. And when Richard and I are interviewing, we've got this new clinic that we're launching, which obviously you know about. We've interviewed everybody in restaurants because we know they can all do dentistry, because they wouldn't be having an interview with us if they couldn't do the dentistry. But we want to see what they're like with the waiting staff.
Okay.
We want to see what they're like with the doorman. That's what I'm interested in. So I can teach anybody how to do
people skills and communication skills.
I can teach anybody how to do dentistry.
Yeah.
But there's certain skills that you need to just have. And if you don't have them, we're not interested in you working in our practice. We're trying to provide a 5-star service. Even our receptionist that we're hiring comes from the hospitality sector, doesn't come from the dental sector. We can teach them dentistry. We can teach them dental lingo. But it's difficult to teach people how to respect and look after other people. The difference between a cleaner, difference between your patient, there is no difference. You just treat everybody with the same respect. And some people just don't have that.
And that can be across the board in business, like Raheel. Everything you just said there, you could be a master of your craft with what you do, what I do, or if you're a plumber, for example. Having the skill is one thing, but if you can't build rapport and build trust, or have that confidence to sell, build trust that you're going to deliver on what you're selling, then surely it's going to hold people back, irrelevant of the qualifications they've got and how skillful they think they are.
100%, without a doubt. I know very, very, very technically gifted dentists who are extremely poor.
Really?
And sometimes their accountants tell them to stop working.
No.
Because it's just not worth it for them.
No way.
And because they lack the personal skills, they lack the rapport building skills.
Which is what you guys are trying to do at Aspire, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's so much of a personal development aspect.
Yeah. So we've brought personal development came into it by almost like by an accident, really. Because what ended up happening, we were teaching a technical dental course, but we would have people come up to us and ask us personal questions. Say, look, I'm struggling with this, or I've got this issue, or you look like you go to the gym. Perfect example to use. I've been trying, but I'm not really getting results. Can you give me some advice? And then Richard and I noticed that actually more and more people are now coming up to us asking us personal advice than actual dental advice. And then Richard, as you know, went and did his training in psychology in MIT, which obviously really helped everything. And that's where the personal development aspect came into it. People just coming up to us and asking us questions, and we didn't really know. We were full of this knowledge. This is just the life we lived. But apparently other people didn't, and they wanted advice on how we were going to the gym, what we were eating, how we were training, how many times a week were we training. So we, from all of a sudden running a dental course, we started running a personal development dental course where you got dentistry, you got the technical skills, but you got lots of other stuff as well.
And how much of the model would you say is, from the courses you do over a calendar year as a percentage, like dentistry, personal development?
I think all of it is dentistry.
Yeah.
But on the days you get so much personal development at the same time. So as we're presenting our dental topics, there's always personal development in there. So we did run, and we will again at the moment. We're just really busy. We actually had a dedicated day called personal development for dentists, which will come back. But generally on all of our course days, whether you're coming learning root canals with us, how to do veneers with us, there's always an aspect of personal development for you and for your patients in there as well.
And you don't need to go into financials, Raheel, but how many courses would you say you've done over the last 14 years, and how many people on average would you say?
Well, we track everything.
Okay.
So we track everything. If I was to say how many courses we've done, I won't be able to tell you a number, but I know we've trained close to 3,000 dentists now.
Wow.
Maybe more.
That's insane.
Yeah, maybe more.
That's insane. Wow.
So yeah,
Amazing.
a lot of people.
What would you say has made you personally, from a trait perspective, what traits within you do you think have made you as successful as you've been?
Do you know, I'm quite driven. People talk about motivation. I get people coming up to me saying I lack motivation, and that's foreign to me because I've never lacked motivation. People said to me, how do you get up and go to the gym in the morning? I was like, how do you get up and not go to the gym? For me, it's more painful not going to the gym than it is going to the gym. So for me, waking up in the morning and going to the gym is literally like waking up and brushing my teeth. It's something that just has to happen. So I think I've got this inbuilt motivation, and there's so much out there to do. I want to do it all. So I've got this drive, and some of it is goal orientated. Obviously, I've got goals and certain things I want to achieve. But even without that, I've always just been very motivated to get stuff done. And for people around me, it can be quite frustrating because I'm Mr. Efficient. If you meet anybody in my personal life, they'll be like, he just wants to be efficient with absolutely everything he does, which can drive people crazy. But for me, it's that efficiency, that drive, that motivation. I love creating stuff.
Does some of that come from the fact that you did come from fuck all, to put it bluntly?
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. And for me, I was that person. You get some people, when I used to see the guy driving by in the Ferrari, it was like, how did he get that? Like, I'd put down my window for congratulations on the car, mate. What do I need to do? And for me, the blessing was my parents making me study. My dad just said one thing to us all the time: always educate yourself. They didn't get the opportunity for education. So for my dad and my mum, their kids being educated was the biggest blessing that they could have ever asked for. And I remember I used to lock myself in my room for hours on end, whether it was my GCSEs, whether it was my A-levels. I wasn't gifted with any of this stuff. I had to literally work hard. I spent hours and hours and hours, countless hours studying. And then I did my first degree, which was biomedical sciences. Then I went on and I did dentistry. But the number of exams and the number of hours I spent studying, I was that type of person that would always over-prepare. So, for example, one of the exams we used to have was like a Viva exam, a voice exam. And people used to dread those exams. It was like what we're doing here. They could ask you anything. And I was like, well, I've learned everything. There's nothing left for me to know. I've absolutely learned everything. I used to ace those exams, but I studied my ass off. And that studying then brought me so much joy afterwards in my life. And when my dad said, just study and everything will come, and everything came. The cars came, the money came, the house came. All these things come, but then you look back and you think, actually, they really don't mean anything. They really don't. I know people say that, it's cliche. And I used to think, oh, when I have the car, I'm going to be so happy. Car never brought me happiness. The only time I realised what car I've got is when the same person, a person with the same car drives past me and think, that's a nice car. Shit, I'm driving in it in myself. But none of that brought me any joy. But I realised what brings me joy. I just love setting up and running businesses.
Why?
I love work.
Why?
I'm addicted to my work.
Why though?
Don't know. It's the honest answer.
Is it creating? You love creating?
Yeah,
you love... Because clearly you're impacting so many lives, right? You must have created so many people. You must have made a large proportion of those 3,000 delegates, or maybe more if you iron out the exact number. But you must have made so many of them a significantly better quality of life, or at least give them more chance to succeed in life.
Do you know, I know that is true because a lot of them messages afterwards, or when we bump into them, they tell us that.
Well, we work with them.
Yeah, also, so you know. But do you know, the beautiful thing about Aspire has been, and now we sit there and I think about it, is the relationships that we've made with people. If Aspire never existed, I never would have met all these amazing people that I've met over the last 14 years. Some of them become really good friends of yours, people that you can rely on, people you go out with, people you want to spend time with. And it's amazing watching them grow. So that's been the best thing about Aspire. But going back to your question that you said, what do I love about it? I just get so much fulfillment from doing what I do. It's like I'm playing PlayStation. I've done level 1, I'm moving on to level 2. I've done level 2, I'm moving on level 3. This game never completes because the second a level is completed, you move on to the next level. And the beautiful thing about it is you get to create the levels yourself. You get to design the game. You're the architect of your own game. I could never work for anybody. I did it. When I had to do it, I did it. But I always did it with the view that I'm working in this environment at the moment. I've got to learn everything I possibly can. So when I'm out there by myself, I've got the skills to be able to thrive working for myself. I remember the days when I had to hand in a slip so I can have annual leave, please. Thinking about that now makes me vomit, that I had to go up to somebody to ask for time off so I could have time off. But when you have to go through those things, you do it. You have to learn. So for me, it was always having something that I owned, something that gave me flexibility.
And life on your own terms.
Yeah, not because I didn't want to work. I work more now than I've ever worked before. But like I said, I don't feel like I'm working.
It's passion and purpose.
Yeah,
behind it.
people are always like, well, you work too much. No, I don't. I'm having too much fun. You watch Netflix and have fun. I'm on my laptop and I have fun.
You know what strikes me about you, and I had Paul Cheetham on the podcast the other day, again, very successful business owner. The reason I wanted to highlight that is I'm very intrigued on patterns in successful people who are the top of their industry. Paul is, you are. And the key thing that stands out in you both, and I'm sure many others, if I broke down, is preparation and attention to detail and the ability to go a step further than other people are willing to do. And it's just, I have to highlight that. Honestly, I've been fortunate enough to interview a lot of people, and it was staggering what you just said there.
You've hit the nail on the head. You have to prepare for everything. I spend most of my time thinking. So when people say, what do you do when you're working? I'm sitting there, I'm thinking. And what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about the objectives. I'm thinking about strategy. Once I've got the objective and the strategy correct in my head, the implementation becomes easy because I've worked it all out already. So I will sit there for hours, just think.
And that'll buy you back more time and efficiency.
Absolutely. I figured it all out in my mind. I know exactly what I need to do, what resources I need, whether that's people, whether that's funding, whatever it is. I figured it all out in my mind. Now it's just to go out there and do it. What's the worst that can happen? It won't work. I've had businesses that haven't worked. It happens.
So one thing you said there, Raheel, was your parents encouraged you to study, but you've still got to do the work. And I'm not just labelling dentists now, but there'll be a lot of people in other industries, but let's use dentistry as an example. You said there, you study, you become the master at that.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people, they're that all in on that, they have zero time for health, fitness, looking after themselves. How did you do it?
Fitness for me was a non-negotiable for several reasons. When I was growing up, it was vanity. Simple as that. When I was in
Probably based on insecurity.
But like 20s, I wanted to look good. I wanted to get all the girls. I thought having big biceps, having abs, having a big chest, that's what got you the girls. Yep. You find out later when you get a bit more mature that actually none of that is true. It's a bonus, but none of it is true. So for me, it probably started off with vanity. And then it was actually, it feels good to be strong. It feels good to look good. I've got energy. In your 20s, honestly, I'd eat pizza every day and chicken burgers every day and walk around ripped. You'd walk around ripped. It was great. But as you get older, you realize that you can't do that. So as I got older, I realized that I needed to conserve my energy more. I needed my diet to be better. I needed my training to be better. Because ultimately, without my health, I can't run my businesses. Without my businesses, I can't look after the people that I need to look after. So if my health goes down, my businesses suffer and everybody else around me suffers. So health has to be number one. There's nothing else that can come before it. And I've had health scares like most people have. And then it hits you, think, shit, if this was to actually materialize, my life is going to change in not good ways, in very, very bad ways. And that's then going to impact everybody else. So health first, business, and then for me, everything else comes around that.
Why is it many of the dentists and business owners don't think like that?
I think it depends on your environment and who you grew up with.
Yep.
And if you had people around you who were into fitness, for me, like I said to you, it was my brother. If it wasn't for my brother, I may not have been into it. Now I try to inspire him to get into the gym. The roles have reversed.
Yep.
Need to get him signed up to BTL. And I think what ends up happening is when they then come to aspire, they see Richard and myself. They see us running the business, working our asses off. And then they see us going to the gym. They see us looking good. And then they say, how do you do this? How are you guys getting time to do this? And then we sit down with them and we show them how it can be done. And then the penny drops. And then all of a sudden they're inspired. Everybody needs a bit of inspiration.
Hope.
Yeah.
And evidence.
Absolutely. If you get a bit of inspiration, whether it's for fitness, whether it's for business, whatever it is, whatever aspect of your life, we all need a bit of inspiration. And if we can provide that inspiration and be the catalyst for anybody to then want to go and train, and for us, it's become easy because we just refer them to you. So we're lucky that we work with you. And we can say to these guys that if you're really serious about this, we know the right person who can help you. But I think it's just seeing the evidence that other people can do it. And once you see that evidence, you know it can be done. And you have the belief that you can do it.
I always reference you to it all the time. It's like dentists, doctors, even other busy entrepreneurs who say, I've got a lot on. You can't play that card when you join Built to Last.
No,
you really can't,
you
because you guys work as much as anyone I know.
Do you know, it's interesting you say that, because obviously we want this podcast for people to take something tangible away from it. And if I can give anything away to anyone, I'm big on productivity. I love productivity. Like I said, I'm Mr. Efficient. I'm not the person who stands on...
But the gold you shared at the event as well.
Yeah.
Raheel, so fire away.
So it's scheduling and calendar mapping every aspect of your day. So when people say, I don't have time, it's because they haven't prepared, they haven't planned their time out. And I mentioned this on the talk that I did for BTL. On a Sunday, I will plan my whole week. Monday all the way to the following Sunday. Now you can be adaptable, that's okay, because certain things may happen in the week and you need to change your plans around. But the first thing that goes in my calendar, my gym sessions.
You schedule that as an appointment.
Every little thing. Schedule one, this is the time I'm going to go to the gym. Once I've scheduled that, I know no matter what happens, I'll be up in enough time to be at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning if that's the time I've scheduled it in. Now, I don't go to the gym every day. I try my best to go 4 times a week. Sometimes it's 3 times a week, but that's okay too. Everything is scheduled. So my gym time is scheduled. My working hours are scheduled. So if I'm working at home, I need time, like productivity time, where I'm focused and I'm just thinking about work. That time is scheduled in. Then there's going to be a social aspect. That time is scheduled in. I've got a massive social life. Family, friends, every evening there's something going on. Fortunately, I get to pick and choose where I want to be and what I want to do. But all of that gets mapped into my calendar as well. So I know where I'm going to be, what time I'm going to be there, what I need with me to be there. All of that is mapped in.
So it's proactive, not reactive.
You have to be proactive.
And you surely do not have to rely on motivation to do that.
And you're committed. You just got to show a little bit of discipline, but you've committed to it. On the Sunday, whilst I'm doing the plan, I've committed to absolutely everything. And I follow it through. And I turn up where I need to turn up every single time. What else am I going to do? Sit at home and watch TV and say I can't be bothered? I remember those times I used to come back from university absolutely shattered. It'd be 8:30 and I said to myself, I'm going to sit on the bed. I'll sit there for 2 minutes. I'd sit there for 2 minutes and I'd knock out. And I'd get up, I think, shit, gym. It's 9 o'clock, the gym's still got another hour. They weren't 24-hour gyms then. I've still got an hour and a half. I still get up, no matter how tired I was, and I still make it to the gym. So calendar map, absolutely everything. If anybody takes anything away from this podcast, is calendar map absolutely every aspect of your life. Then you've got time for your family, you've got time for your friends, you've got time for work. You're never in the grey zone. The grey zone is where actually you're sitting with family, but you're thinking about work. Schedule everything in. The second my work finishes, put my laptop down, switch off. I'll be lying if I say I completely switch off. I never do. I'm always in the background. There's always some work going on.
I get it.
But I'm present with the family at that particular time.
Yeah.
They'll probably disagree with that, but as far as I'm aware, I'm there.
I get it. There's a quote that I love. I don't know who this was first attributed to, but it was, your priorities aren't revealed by what you say they are, they're revealed by what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ultimately, when you look at your calendar, that's the harsh fact of what you prioritize.
Absolutely. There's no guesswork. I've decided what's important to me in my week. I've decided what activities are important to me. Gym is a big part of that. And I've had gym taken away from me for 2 years, as you know. So I know what it was like when that was taken away from me. Every aspect of it. My work's important. Family time's important. And you have to learn to say no to people. You really have to learn to say no.
Explain a little bit more about that, because I think this is one of the biggest things. I mean, it's tripped me up multiple times in business. And I mean, if you were to look at my WhatsApp now, I've got about 102 WhatsApps that I've not got back to.
I know that feeling.
And Gabby's like...
And I bet it's just not WhatsApp. I bet it's Instagram. Your DMs are probably the same. If you accumulate all those messages that come through, there's a lot.
You get nothing done if you divide your attention too much. So.
And I think I've learnt over the years not to multitask. I believed in multitasking. I'd be like, yeah, of course you can multitask. Look, I do all of these things. But I've learned over the years that actually multitasking doesn't work because your attention is divided and you're not fully focused on the thing that you're trying to do. So in terms of messages and things like that coming through, what I do personally is I batch everything. And I mentioned this on the talk. So all the messages that have come through on my phone today, unless it's really important people like mum and dad, brother, sister, few message, Richard messages, that will get looked at. Everything else, won't even look at it. I'll look at it tomorrow morning. I have an hour, which I call my admin hour. In the admin hour, I've listed down everything I do. I go through the WhatsApps first, reply to everybody that needs replying to. Then I go through all the Instagram DMs, then go through that. Then I go through all my Slack messages, go through
but you don't flick from one platform to another platform. Okay.
Go through one platform, done, second platform, done, third platform, and I just do it once a day in my admin hour, which is usually around 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8 o'clock. And then what ends up happening is people realize that you don't get back to them for 24 hours. People stop bothering you.
You set the expectation.
I've set the expectation. And people will know that actually, no point asking him this. He's not going to get back to me for 24 hours. I might as well just go somewhere else. And then slowly you start realizing that all these people who just keep bothering you for stuff stop bothering you. But I always reply to everyone. If you message me, you'll 100% get a reply. We'll never ignore you. But you're going to have to wait for my admin hour the following day before I do it. Otherwise, I'm on the train, I'm messaging. I'm walking home, I'm replying to messages. Really, on the train, if I'm sitting there, I'm never relaxed, but I'd rather think about work. I'd rather think about another idea that we've come up with. I'd rather think about another system that I can improve rather than constantly replying back to everyone. I've been there, I've done that. Didn't work for me.
Well, success leaves clues at the end of the day. You haven't fluked your way to the business you've built, the wealth you've built.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because people always, I get asked, oh, so what are your talents? I don't really think I've got any talents, but I've got one talent. I work fucking hard. Somebody said to you, what's your talent? That's my talent. I work hard.
And focus.
Focus, discipline, composure. If there's anything that will go on my gravestone, it'll be those words. You've got to be composed. You've got to be focused. You've got to be disciplined. Without those things, you can't achieve stuff. Nothing happens by fluke. I wasn't fortunate enough where things just turned up, said, here you go, mate, this is for you, well done. I wouldn't want it that way anyway. It'd be boring. I want to work for stuff.
So what's interesting, Raheel, with you, a lot of people come to work with us that are really overweight. You know, they're at rock bottom, drastically underperforming. That wasn't the case with you. Why did you reach out to me, and why did you work with me, Built to Last, and why are you still with us?
I think the main reason I reached out to you, remember I said earlier that you've got to learn from experts. I wanted to make sure I was training properly. So when I reached out to you, for me, it was a coaching program. I was there to learn how to train properly. Didn't realize I was going to, you were on the other end of it. But I remember our sessions, we used to have such banter in our sessions. You used to say, right, move your arm slightly this way and watch the difference it makes. Move your leg slightly this way as you're squatting. Look at the difference it makes. So for me, it was how to learn how to train properly. I didn't come to you and, right, I want to be this, I want to be that. I did say I want abs. I did say I want abs because the abs disappeared after my 20s. But for me, it was teach me how to train properly. And you did. And then you brought the nutrition into it. And then you brought the tempo into it. And then I realized, whoa, there's a whole different way of training. I was probably overtraining before I met you. Why I stayed? Because of you.
Thank you.
Because you were unbelievable at what you did. I used to feel inspired after our sessions. And normally people would say that to me. If I would have a session with them or we'd go out for lunch, people say, oh, I feel so inspired after spending time with you. But I felt inspired after spending time with you, and I really enjoyed those sessions.
Thank you.
And then obviously COVID happened. And then when COVID happened, I remember ringing you and saying to you, I want you to come and talk to my community. All of our competitors were giving dental webinars. And as you know me, I always like to do things differently. So I thought, hold on, what's the point of giving dental webinars? Let's mix this up. So well, know some amazing people. And I called you. I said, Kirk, do you want to talk about what you do to our community? Give them a bit of inspiration. And you did. And I think that was a great catalyst for both of us, really. I remember we had Gabby doing Pilates with about 1,000 dentists on Zoom.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more about helping as much as I possibly can. But when I met you, I found a whole new way of training, a whole new way of eating. And that had me hooked, and that changed lots of things about my life. It changed my habits, it changed my daily routines, it changed the way I trained, it changed the way I ate. You made me eat cod for 2 years, twice a day. I'll never forgive you for that. I've never eaten fish since. I smell out everywhere I went. The funniest thing was, I remember once I went out for dinner. It was, I can't remember, I think it might have been Koya in central London. And I went with my Tupperware box. And I said to the waitress, I go, listen, I know this is going to sound...
I remember that was when we dropped the hammer before you wanted to...
I said to the waitress, I'm so sorry. I had to lie to her a little bit. I go, listen, I'm competing for a competition now. I go, I can't eat the food you've got. I go, but I'm here with the missus and she's got to eat. And we're out. I go, do you mind like warming this up for me? And you know what they did? They brought it out in all the cutlery, properly presented it to me like I bought food from the restaurant. And I remember walking once, I think we cut out dessert completely out of my diet once. So I think we were getting ready for the pictures. And I was I rang you, I go, Kirk, I can just smell dessert everywhere I go. I was walking past bins and I was like, this smells so good.
Especially the first time, because obviously you were, listen, not everyone's a Raheel, right, who wants to get fat, ripped. You were just like, Kirk, I want to tick this box.
Yeah.
And just sometimes you got that. I think sometimes for some people, and I genuinely think even with myself back in my late 20s and 30s, like going through a period of obscene discipline is very good for your mindset. It really is.
Because you can do it.
Yeah, and look, like you, Raheel, we're on the same path now in terms of we eat out regularly. I do not eat out of a Tupperware. I mean, I literally eat out multiple times. I live off Deliveroo. Yeah. But the period of just being that disciplined buys you so much more malleability and flexibility long term. It's untrue. Yeah. But a lot of people just aren't prepared. So being a little bit disciplined to at least get anywhere near close to where they want to be, But for me, the big takeaway from that is, look, you're a high performer anyway. You had a strong foot on health. But you came to me, what we're doing, to give you the edge. Yeah. Not just to be very good, to be exceptional.
Yeah, absolutely.
The greatest respect, you're in better shape than a lot of personal trainers now, which is embarrassing to the personal trainers. But it's just about standards. And it's no coincidence, and I say this to a lot of the dentists who join us, there's a reason why you and Richard are making a lot of money and can pretty much pick and choose who comes on your courses. Yeah. And are you being asked to speak around the world now? If you were an absolute mess, that isn't going to happen.
Yeah. I wouldn't have the energy to do it, firstly.
Yeah.
I literally just would not have the energy to do it. And at our age now, I'd be more worried about getting diabetes and getting I'll be in and out of the GP all the time. I haven't seen the doctor for years. Literally haven't.
Because there must be, I remember you saying to me before I did the webinar, Raheel, am I right in saying that you said a lot of dentists have to retire early because of back issues, back
problems, eye strains, and back issues is the biggest problem.
Really?
Because
they're not strong?
It's that, and because of the position we have to work in, and if you're not strong, you don't have a strong lower back or a strong core. I've got dentists that we train who are 2 or 3 years qualified and have to see a chiropractor every week because their backs are so bad, because they're not strong enough. But you never get taught these things at dental school. Really, day one on dental school should be how to look after your back. These are RDLs. This is Kirk Miller. This is one of the modules in dental school. You need to follow what he does. People aren't taught that, and the problem is if you don't know, you don't know until somebody tells you.
Yeah, but what you guys are teaching, and look, of course, we're very grateful. There's so many people that you've worked with that are sent our way. But just coming to a sort of close here, Raheel, how important is you looking after you on your mindset? Because I think for me, your mindset, mate, is different. Different to any dentist I've come across and many entrepreneurs that I've come across. How important is looking after you for your mindset and your future success over the next 10, 20, 30 years?
I can answer that in lots of different ways, actually. The way I will answer it is when I've gone through problems in my life, and we all go through problems, and I've had a couple of tough years, we've talked personally in the past couple of few.
And with the setbacks we have.
Absolutely. It was the training that got me through it. It was knowing that I can control one aspect of my life, and that aspect of my life that I can control is my health, and I can control it by building muscle, and I can control it by eating well. That helped become a reference point for my mindset, with the hope that everything else will work itself out. But the aspect of my life that I've got control of is the way I eat and the way I train. So for mindset, comes before anything else.
Brilliant. Last couple of questions, mate. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to dominate in business and life, what would it be? Someone who really wants success, they really want it all.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that comes to your gut?
Yeah.
If this person really wants to burn the boat?
Yeah. You've got to be disciplined and you've got to work hard. But choose what you work hard towards, something that resonates with you, something that makes your heart sink. Because if you don't, and if it's something else that you really don't want to do, but you think it might make you a lot of money, you're going to get bored of it. You're going to get burnt out. So you've got to be passionate about it. I don't know, we hear people say this all the time, but it's true. That's why people say it all the time. It's something that you really are in love with, something that you really enjoy, because you can make money doing anything. Money ultimately isn't the end goal, because trust me, once you go past a certain point, doesn't really matter whether you have 100 grand in your account or $1 million in your account. Once there's an amount of money you can make, then after that, it doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that you work on something that you enjoy every single day, and then you're going to want to work hard. Then it's no longer hard work. It's just what you do. So discipline, you have to be disciplined, but you have to enjoy what you do, and you've got to work hard at it. So I would say my advice would be, find something that you are truly passionate about, something that you do enjoy, because then it's no longer hard work, it's just play. I honestly feel that Richard and myself, we play every single day when we're at work. I haven't done a single days of work for a number of years.
And with that being said, why should, if I'm a dentist, why should I consider joining Aspire Dental Academy?
We're the best.
No, it is. Listen,
we care. I'll answer that. I'll answer that in a non-cheeky way. We care. We care about every single delegate that comes through. We want every single one of them to succeed. We want to see them do better than we've done. And that comes from the heart. We genuinely care. When people ask us, what's your secret? How have you guys done so well? The secret is we simply care about our delegates. We want them to succeed.
Yeah, no, we're definitely on the same page as that, mate. And hopefully, the feelings embody we're built to last.
Yeah.
People ask a lot about, built to last. I care.
Yeah.
And people trust you with the investment.
And I know that, because I've had voice notes of you. You've picked up the phone when you didn't have to pick up the phone, just to say, how's it going? And we feel that.
You're human.
We feel that when you do. It's like, oh my God, yeah, Kirk's on my team. He's on my side. And that's important. And I want all of our delegates to feel that as well. We've got such a big community now. And hopefully every single one of them does realise that we do care about them. And they can reach out to us at any point. I can pick up the phone and call you anytime I want. And we hope that our delegates feel the same for us as well.
And why should people join Built to Last if they're out of shape?
Oh, because honestly, you enter a world that you don't know exists. It's not just fitness training. It's a community that empowers you. I'm not just saying that because he's sitting over here. It's a community that empowers you. It changes the way you think, the way you eat, the way you train. And once you've got all of that right, it starts to change other aspects of your life. It starts to change your life, your habits. So yeah, definitely join BTL. I recommend, as you know, mate, I've sent plenty of people your way. Yeah. Plenty of people your way. It is,
but just for context as well, like, I might be the big mouth at the front, but it's the people within it.
It's the team.
You being one of them, the team.
Yeah.
The you, Richard. I mean, it's absolutely stacked with kind people.
But you've done well putting your team together. Like, we know your team so well. PD, David, all these guys, Stephen, all of these guys are unbelievable. And you've done really well putting your team together. I can pick up the phone to any one of these guys and they'll be more than happy to speak to me. And that's what you've done. It's fantastic. So it's not just the Kirk Miller show. You've got a full team behind you, and you've handpicked every single one of them because they all represent the values that you want to distill in your business. And you've done a great job with that.
100%. And just to wrap us up, what's the mission and the vision moving forward for Raheel, for Aspire, for Telelite?
The next level is, I talked to you about, once the level's completed, you got to create the next level. For Richard and I felt that we had boxed off a lot of levels and we needed to finally do something that nobody else has done. And we're doing that. We've been working on a project for approximately 2 years. It's been blood, sweat and tears, literally non-stop, but we don't stress about these things. We take everything as a challenge because we know we can work our way through it. So we've got a big clinic opening, wellness centre opening and dental academy opening all in one place. It's in the heart of London. We haven't revealed the location to anybody yet, and we're going to do that in the next couple of months. But it's a big project that's very close to us. We're calling it Aspire HQ. It's our headquarters. Everything's going to happen there, and we absolutely can't wait till that opens. Once that's done, then I'm sure we'll think of something else to do. We're never going to stop.
I know you certainly won't. I've known you 9 years, mate.
Yeah.
You've not took your foot off the pedal.
We don't know how to stop.
Richard's
we don't know how
the
to
same
stop.
as well.
Yeah, and I think that's why it works, because Richard and I are so similar. Like I said, I went into business with Richard not knowing anything about him. He knew nothing about me. But there's one thing that makes this business work is we've got trust with each other. Absolute trust and mutual respect. You can't beat that. So, and the best thing about us is we come up with ideas and nobody even knows whose bloody idea it was, because I'll say something to him, he'll add to it, then I'll add to it, he'll add to it. Before you know it, we've got this amazing idea. And that's the best business partnership you can ever wish for. And it's just trust and mutual respect. I could come up with the best idea, and if he says, Raheel, it's not going to work, we'll finish it off. Or he could come up with something. I say, Rich, I don't think it's going to work. No questions asked. And that is why our business works. We don't even have a business arrangement with each other. We should sit down one day and write it out. But 14 years.
Unbelievable.
Because of mutual respect and trust. I'll never let him down, and I know he'll never let me down.
Well, there's so much gold in that. I'm sure if you listen to this, the gold around business, health, mindset. I think as well, when I said this to Paul the other day, very similar traits in some is integrity.
Yeah.
But you and Richard have got bucket loads of charisma as well. So if
Yeah.
you're looking to make your dentistry career interesting, and what other courses, I don't know a lot about the dentistry courses, but I can't imagine there is captivating as what you and Richard
I hope
to
not.
do.
I hope not. Look, because I think somebody tagged us on Instagram a few days ago and said it's a TED Talk every single day I'm here. And that actually resonated with me, because that's essentially what we try to achieve. We try to give you education, but in an inspiring way, because honestly, you can do anything you want. Anything you want. We've talked a lot about business today, and my advice is everybody needs to learn business skills. Doesn't matter what aspect of life you're in, what your industry is. Business applies to everything. Whether you're a dentist, whether you're a chiropractor, whether you're a personal trainer, whatever it is you're doing, you need to understand business. And business it's actually quite straightforward if you think about it. The concept of it is straightforward. You just need to make sure your revenue is more than your expenses. It's the bits in between that are difficult. They're the bits that are hard. Those bits in between are difficult. And that's where you've got to think. And you've got to strategize. And you've got to use common sense. We knew nothing about business when we started off. We just applied common sense to everything. And one day we had a profit. We're like, how the hell did that happen?
All I know is you're doing a pretty good job of it now. So if you are a dentist, not only looking to become a great dentist, but learn business and all the other skill sets that are important to that, then Raheel and Richard are definitely your men, and Aspire is definitely the company. So where can people find you, Richard, the company? So they even tell us as well. Which we didn't
they can
speak about
find
today.
us at aspiredentalacademy.com. I'm at Dr. Raheel Malik on Instagram. Instagram's probably the best way of getting in touch with us. I promise you, I will get back to you, but the following day. That's the best place to find us.
Yeah, awesome. Listen, Raheel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Mate.
Thank you.
Gold as always, and please check him out, and I'll see you next time.